Councillor Macpherson.
Thank you. I need to crave your indulgence because through most of the workshops and the previous discussions at SPNF, I've listened very carefully and thought at great length, and I've read extensively, both online and back through the literature that I'm familiar with on this issue, and my views are different than many of you on council, but I'd ask that you listen carefully to the concerns that I have and the reasons why I have those concerns. I would have preferred, as you'd gather, option 1 because it was the only democratic option available. Recall it proposed 3 Maori seats and 7 general seats, and they were in direct proportion to their numbers on the Maori electoral population and the general electoral population, which are populations of real voters. Now, options 2 and 3 by comparison are not democratic because they violate the principle of equal suffrage for each real citizen.
Point of order, Madam.
Both rely on fake additional at-large
just need
boards.
to stop there. There is a point of order that has been raised by Councillor Yates.
Yes,
Councillor Yates.
No, Councillor
Tapsell.
Tapsell was, yes. Thank you, Councillor Tapsell.
Thank you. My point of order is just that's some misinformation. That is incorrect. All voters are real voters. The option that is proposed is also a democratic option where voters are able to vote. So that is misinformation and not correct, and I'd like that corrected, please.
Thank you. Are you prepared to correct that statement, Councillor Macpherson?
Well, it's difficult because the full rationale has yet to be presented. I'd urge Councillor Tapsell to be a little patient and to hear the rest of my rationale before deciding whether or not I'm putting forward misinformation. I don't believe I am, but I need your permission, Chair, to continue.
You have my permission, Councillor Macpherson, and remember you have 5 minutes to speak.
I'll finish well inside the 5, I promise. The point that I'm making here before being interrupted is that the options 2 and 3 rely on what I regard as a fake additional at-large ward. This ward has been created and it should be rejected on 4 grounds. First one is, compared to option 1, option 2 decreases the voting
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, point of order, Councillor.
Use of fake information. Everything that we've been provided with is fact.
Thank you. And could I also add to your point of order that they were not options, they were models that we looked at. So continue, Councillor Macpherson, but please stop using words like fake and try to stick to the facts.
Well, compared to democratic option number 1, option 2 decreases the voting power of those on the general roll by 14%, while increasing the voting power of those on the Maori roll by 33.3%. Second point is, compared to democratic option 1, option 3 increases the voting power of those on the general roll by 14%,
Point of
while
order,
increasing the voting power.
Point of order, Councillor Macpherson. They are all democratic models. Please try to stop putting bias to imply that the model that we are debating today is not democratic. Now, you may continue, but be more careful with your use of words, please.
I'll rephrase that. Compared to the option 1, option 3 factually increases the voting power of those on the general roll by 14%, while increasing the voting power of those on the Maori roll by 100%. So the justifications for option 2 and 3, I went back through and looked at the various meetings, and it was clear that the justifications, including a belief that some have, but I don't share, a belief that the Treaty of Waitangi guarantees partnership with the Crown and 50-50 co-governance, and therefore justify making these adjustments in favour of mana whenua. Options 2 and 3, for me, will be like holding elections in reverse. Real voters normally get to pick their representatives, but by adjusting wards using the structures being proposed, incumbent
Point
representatives
of order, Madam
will be
Chair.
picking voters. Point of
Point
order.
of order, councillor Yates.
Point of order in the fact that Councillor Macpherson yet again is referring to misinformation that I don't believe is fair or will create an effective state of play here. Everyone has the right to vote. Every enrolled member has the right to vote. And for your information, Mr. Councillor Macpherson, we have more Māori on the general roll than on the Māori.
Thank you. Continue, councillor Macpherson,
I
and you
don't
have
see
2 minutes.
I don't see the relevance of that point, but still, thank you for that. I'll summarise by saying that this particular approach to adjusting wards is the equivalent of what Americans referred to as districting, where you adjust districts to obtain the outcomes, the voting outcomes that are either prejudicial or advantageous to the position you'd like to achieve. This is defined in the literature as gerrymandering, and it is a corruption of democratic process.
Point of order. There are 3 challenges, and I'm sure councillor Macpherson, they're once again referring to the use of your words, gerrymandering. I take offence at that, and I'd like you to withdraw that remark, please.
Well, your worship, you do not have the right not to be offended.
I can certainly be offended, councillor Macpherson. Do you wish to withdraw your mention of the word gerrymandering? With all of us attending these workshops, that was the last thing that I understood to have occurred.
Well, that's where our views differ fundamentally. And why would I be expected to withdraw something that I believe is factually accurate and derived directly from the arguments that I've just put forward? And it is consistent with the literature.
Oh, we're dealing with the real world here, councillor Macpherson, and our Rotorua world. Your time is up, and I'll pass now to councillor Bentley.